Welcome to my channel SB Quotes. 24 inspiring quotes about taking responsibility and ownership. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. When you think everything is someone's fault, you will suffer a lot. When you realize that everything springs only from yourself, you will learn both peace and joy. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. When you complain, you make yourself a victim. Leave the situation, change the situation, or accept it. All else is madness. Hold yourself responsible for a higher standard than anybody expects of you. Never excuse yourself. Being responsible is an enormous privilege. It's what marks anyone a fully grown human. The victim mindset dilutes the human potential. By not accepting personal responsibility for our circumstances, we greatly reduce our power to change them. Taking responsibility is a commitment to own your life, to self-leadership, growth, and freedom. The willingness to accept responsibility for one's own life is the source from which self-respect springs. We are made wise not by the recollection of our past but by the responsibility for our future. Man must cease attributing his problems to his environment, and learn again to exercise his will, his personal responsibility. One of the most significant findings in psychology in the last 20 years is that individuals can choose the way they think. You can't change someone who doesn't see an issue in their actions. It is only when you take responsibility for your life that you discover how powerful you truly are. If you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. You are responsible for your life. You can't keep blaming somebody else for your dysfunction. Life is really about moving on. Fully accepting, loving, and being yourself allows you to be 100% authentic. This means being fully responsible for yourself. You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstance, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. The day you graduate from childhood to adulthood is the day you take full responsibility for your life. Part of getting a second chance is taking responsibility for what you did wrong in the first place. It is a painful thing to look at your own trouble and know that you yourself and no one else has made it. The price of greatness is responsibility. Take responsibility, trust, and have faith in yourself that you can offer the world something that no one has ever known. It is not only for what we do that we are held responsible, but also for what we do not do. When we have begun to take charge of our lives, to own ourselves, there is no longer any need to ask permission of someone. 13 quotes on how responsibilities and happiness are intertwined. The secret ingredients to true happiness. Decisive optimism and personal responsibility. Making someone responsible for your misery also makes them responsible for your happiness. Why give that power to anyone but yourself? Happiness is your responsibility. If you depend or wait for other people to make you happy, you will always be disappointed. Take responsibility for your own happiness. Do not expect people or things to bring you happiness, or you could be disappointed. The Bible tells us that when we're faithful in the little things that God gives us to do, then He will bring increased blessings and responsibility into our lives. You are never responsible for the actions of others. You are only responsible for you. The game is my life. It demands loyalty and responsibility, and it gives me back fulfillment and peace. Until you accept responsibility for your life, someone else runs your life. Take responsibility of your own happiness, never put it in other people's hands. The natural human response is to react, but to take complete ownership requires courage and self-discipline. The more you have that, the happier you'd be. Take responsibility for yourself, it's very rewarding. Accepting complete responsibility for your life means that you refuse to make excuses or blame others for anything in your life that you're not happy about. Peak performance begins with your taking complete responsibility for your life and everything that happens to you. 15. The power of taking responsibility quotes. Taking responsibility for oneself is by definition an act of kindness. Taking personal accountability is a beautiful thing because it gives us complete control of our destinies. The moment you take responsibility for everything in your life is the moment you can change anything in your life. Personal responsibility leads to national transformation. The greatest people are great because they're willing to admit their greatest faults. Action springs not from thought, but from a readiness for responsibility. When you start to accept responsibility for the results you get in life, you also take back the power to change your future outcome. Take responsibility, it's where your powers live. To achieve life mastery and be worthy of a life well lived, we must take action, ownership, and responsibility for our choices. Responsibility is the thing people dread the most of all. Yet it is the one thing in the world that develops us, gives us manhood or womanhood fiber. Stop pointing fingers and placing blame on others. Your life can only change to the degree that you accept responsibility for it. Responsibility is a grace we give ourselves. It is not something imposed from outside of us. We have a say in how our life goes. Liberty means responsibility. That is why most men dread it. With great power there must also come great responsibility. By taking responsibility for yourself, you can stop relying on others to take responsibility for you. 19 quotes to help you accept and take responsibility. Responsibility is a grace you give yourself, not an obligation. There are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist, or accept the responsibility for changing them. In the long run, we shape our lives, and we shape ourselves. The process never ends until we die. And the choices we make are ultimately our own responsibility. Take responsibility for your own greatness. No one can take that courage walk for you. Accept responsibility for your life. Know that it is you who will get you where you want to go, no one else. Your life begins to change the day you take responsibility for it. Accepting responsibility should be your default response to everything. Remember, you are responsible for your future, so take charge and turn your life into whatever it is that you want it to be. If you own this story, you get to write the ending. The final forming of a person's character lies in their own hands. Responsibility is accepting that you are the cause and the solution of the matter. If it's never our fault, we can't take responsibility for it. If we can't take responsibility for it, we'll always be its victim. To say you have no choice is to relieve yourself of responsibility. Patrick Ness. A lot of responsibility is learned over time and comes with experience. The best we can do is try our hardest and be self-aware. You and I need to be the decision makers in our own lives and careers. It is also our responsibility to allow and encourage others to do the same. Deliberately take the responsibility to change your life because you can, yes you can. We live in a culture of blame. People will blame anyone or anything for their misery sooner than take the responsibility to own it and make it better. The greatest gifts you can give your children are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence. Skills can be taught and developed, but attitudes are difficult to change and ultimately are the responsibility of each person. Thanks so much for your watching. God bless you.